thing, as always. You're welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy, and we're so excited you could join us wherever you are. We thank you for your company. In Kumasi, those of you tuned in to Love 99.5 FM, we love you very much. Thanks for choosing us. And all the way in the central region, the Super Morning Show is live on ATL FM 100.5 megahertz. Thank you so much for making the time. We've got quite a show for you, so you better strap yourself in, because here it comes. It's all about the rather disturbing correlation between violence among adolescents and suicide. It's scary. Today it's all about the mental health of adolescents. We're trying to figure out what's going on in the minds of these young ones as they grow through these very sensitive ages. As parents, do you really know the kind of pressures that your children are under while they're away from home in school? Do you have any idea what that environment is doing to them? Are they being bullied? What is the impact of that bullying on them? When they are in their bedroom and the door is shut, what is going on in their minds? When they are in the back seat of your car with their headphones on, what is going on in their heads? That's what we want to unfold today. And that knowledge will help us be better parents.
Exactly, Kojo. And look, if you look at research, part of it actually starts from our home. Part of the challenges these young ones go through starts from our homes. Okay, I'm looking at a research that indicates, for instance, that victimization experiences, school level stress significantly predict depressive symptoms in both boys and girls.
Yeah.
There's research that indicates that 11.3% of adolescents were maltreated growing up, either at home or in school, end up having suicide tendencies. 11%.
Yeah.
Now, ask yourself that simple question as you drive to work today. How am I treating my son or daughter at home? How is he or she being treated at school?
And you know, all of these young adolescents and young adults are at risk.
Yeah.
It's not only those who are being bullied, okay? Those who bully others, even those who witness bullying, they all have long-term effects of these activities, this violence among adolescents. So we'll be exploring all of it. Our guest, Professor Joseph Osafo, is the head of Department of Psychology at the University of Ghana. Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang, you heard from him yesterday. He's here with us. He's a senior lecturer at the Department of Psychology, University of Ghana. And these are gentlemen who have done the work, done the research to get the actual picture of what's happening among our young children. So we'll be hearing from them shortly. But in the studio, Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang is a senior lecturer at the Department of Psychology, University of Ghana. Doctor, what a pleasure to have you on the show.
Nice meeting you, Kaju. It's been a while.
It has, hasn't it?
Yes, we always speak.
Yes, and it's great having you. He met his mate Sami Odami here.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry?
I met my mate Sami Odami.
Yes, so that's just by the way, because Doc has just shared a research with me that indicates that nearly 3 in 10 junior high school students in Ghana report attempting suicide. That's about 30%. And also 20% of senior high school students report attempting to commit suicide or attempting suicide. And for me, that's instructive. We've been talking about how, for instance, 11.3% have indicated that, of adolescents have indicated that, look, their experiences with bullying and maltreatment contributed to their contemplating suicide. So we'll start, first of all, by looking at how violence affects the mental health of adolescents before we narrow in on suicide. So let's start off with you, Dr. Badu Agyemang.
Thank you very much, Winston. I must say, when we talk of mental health, usually we are a bit skeptical. But all of us here, Mama V is here, Kojo is here, you are here. We all have mental health. Every single individual have mental health. And mental health is not estate. It can improve. We can invest in our mental health so it becomes good, increase to be becoming better. And if we don't, life-related events, wrong decisions, challenges of life can also deteriorate our mental health. So we want to understand that mental health, as we mention it, we all have it.
Okay.
We can improve it. We can invest in it.
Hold on 1 minute for me. I'll get back to you shortly so we continue the conversation. But let me get to, Professor Joseph Osafo, who is head of the Department of Psychology at the University of Ghana. And we're privileged to have him because he's actually in a meeting and he stepped out so he can speak to us this morning. Yes, because he says there's a very important issue. And so, Prof, good morning once again, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Great. So, Prof, let's look at how violence, maltreatment, and bullying affect the mental health of adolescents.
So, basically, your mental health is a sum total of a certain level of equanimity and calibration in the way you feel, in the way you work, in the way you relate, in the way you talk, and all of those. So that is what we talk when we are referred to mental health. And adolescence is the most turbulent stage in a person's developmental trajectory. If you are able to navigate that stage successfully, I can bet you're almost on your way to win life. Because that's the stage where the growth spurt is. You're trying to understand the world, you're trying to relate with others, you're trying to find your own space, in terms of relating with people. And a lot of young people would want to, create a relevant space within which they are found to be also relevant in their communities and the spaces where their friends relate with them. Now, research clearly shows that when young people don't have, for example, very good relationship with their parents, it even affects the neural connections in their brain. In fact, some studies are indicating that when young people are exposed to watching violent movies or they are engaging in competitive, games, these video games where they are all the time competing. So they are almost all the time, it structures their brain at the structural level. And they are almost all the time thinking that they are competing with others. And so these days, some neuroscientists and neurocognitive scientists will tell you it's not even good for you to expose a child to very competitive, highly competitive situation because of the structural integrity that is affected when it comes to their neural function. I'm talking about brain nerves and the way they function. Okay. And so young people who are engaged in very competitive, gaming and violent, experiences, and all the time trying to make sure that they find a space, are likely to have their mental health compromised. I'm talking about the way they calibrate their thoughts, their perceptions, their feelings in terms of relating with others. Beyond that, this is also a period where, because you're trying to find your own space, sometimes you will end up fighting your own parents or what we call significant others in your life. Yeah. Parents, guardians, teachers, because you want to feel like this is me. I want to be me. This is like a child who wants to become an adolescent. An adult, and you want to shape him. You want to make sure you correct him, and yet he or she feels no, the world is for me. So some of them have problems with their parents. And usually when adolescents have problem with their parents, some of them because they are unable to vent out their displeasures, on their parents, or vent their spleen on their parents, they'll be looking for very fragile, unthreatening targets, like their own colleagues, and hit them, So they call it acting out behaviors. get angry at them, displacing their anger, on non-threatening targets. And that's where sometimes you can find these abuses and victimizations and bullying in schools. So that is there. Beyond that, we have young people these days who are taking a lot of drugs. And you know what we are dealing with in Ghana. Young people are on drugs. They are vaping in schools. Some schools are doing their best to control this. But recently, I was checking a report. There are over 1,000 new substances that are in the black market, and young people have access to these mixtures of all kinds of substances, and they inhale them. When they inhale them, their cognitive integrity is compromised. They are likely, to misperceive. They'll be delusional. So even if when we were in school, I remember sometimes you are asked to go and kneel down, go and weed a piece of grass, clean the lawn, and all of those. And some of those things were done for fun. But by the time adolescents are stepping beyond the bounds of wanting to hit somebody's head, cut somebody, or use a machete or a knife on the other person in school, you can imagine what is happening. Something definitely is wrong. Okay? So, adolescent mental health in this part of the world is a product of so many intervening variables, so many factors, including what I've just indicated.
Great. So, Prof, I mean, you've talked about what could lead people into unleashing violence, for instance. But quick two questions. So, for that person who is unleashing violence and the one that suffers it, what could be the impact of that act going forward on them?
You mean on the victim?
Yes, on the victim and even on the one, perpetrating it.
No, so for the one who is the perpetrator, if the perpetrator is not brought to book, then what happens is that it strengthens his resolve to continue to do this. Okay, and it's important to hear and to note that the school has taken drastic actions. Of course, some of the actions I have concerns about, but I think that they have rolled out some kind of reparatory processes. So for the perpetrator, he or she must be told that you cannot break rules up to this level. There are regulations, there are rules that govern human interactions. You cannot break them and go scot-free. You must be brought to book. And again, that this occurred in a school setting. So that one, it's there. And if we don't help, that's why we have the Bolsa homes, for example, where they are taken there and after a couple of months or years, you leave. And they make sure that they don't hold any criminal charges against you because you are still in your developmental trajectory. So trying to reform and to help you. But on the victim, you can imagine the anguish, the trauma. You can imagine the self-deprecating thoughts. You can imagine the suicidal thoughts. Because what it does to the victim is that it dehumanizes you at the basic level. You feel dehumanized. You feel that your dignity is soiled. You are treated like an animal. Sorry to use that word. But that's what it means. If your fellow human being does not respect the boundaries of dignity and the fact that what he or she is doing to you could expose you to very excruciating pain and treat you that way, what happens is that you feel so dehumanized. So some of them may be depressed. And that's the reason why when I was listening to some of the reparative processes that the school has initiated, some of them, for example, I'm told that the victim is equally to be punished or is asked not to come to the school, something like that. I have concerns about that because here, even if the victim did not report, we should understand why the victim may not report. Okay. The victim may not report because of fear. And this happens a lot. This is just like a young lady who has been, let's say, sexually molested, by a male of a higher reputation. There are power dynamics there. So if the lady is unable to report, you cannot tell her that because you also loved it, that's why I didn't report. No, there are dynamics. And when I heard that aspect, I was a little bit worried that the victim should not be punished for anything. He's a victim. And the fact that what had happened to him can happen to anybody. You can be threatened that if you do this, I'll kill you. And we hear this a lot within the space of working with adolescents, that they told me that if I report, they'll kill me. And the person may not report, So the victim could be suicidal. The victim could go through self-harming experiences, depressed, and all of those. And so the impact on the victim is enormous if we don't intervene early enough.
Talking about intervention, we'll get back. We'll get to that shortly. But I'd love to, understand something. Why do the victims contemplate suicide and self-harm? Why do they contemplate these?
So you see, when you go through any distressing experience, first and foremost, let me announce to you that it is very difficult to explain why people become suicidal. But there are a few factors that can drive people to become suicidal. Number one, that people become suicidal when the experience they've gone through is extremely distressing, that it dehumanizes their sense of humanness. You see, when something holds you together, Kojo, what holds you together is that sense in you that I'm a human being. And human beings must be treated fairly, be treated with dignity. Life circumstances and challenges should not compromise the integrity of who you are. Anytime people come to experience life's adversity in a form and in a manner that appears to dehumanize who they are, I can tell you they can be suicidal. The second thing will be the stigma for a young person, for example, and the threat who has gone through what he has gone through, and somebody is threatening him, I'll do this to you. Sometimes you get depersonalized. You don't feel you're a human being. And one of the reasons why young persons will engage in self-harm is because sometimes they want to use the self-harm as a distraction to the deep tendency of wanting to die. So when they cut themselves, it is a way of distracting the attention from not following through with a feeling to kill themselves. Okay, so that's the other part that we should be aware of. Then the third thing is that because the person has gone through this pain and anguish and whatnot, over a period of time, if there's no intervention, then they sink into this sense of worthlessness and a sense of hopelessness. Two key attributes and feelings that make people who are depressed feel they are really depressed and they don't want to live. That hopelessness is a lack of an anticipation of why I should be living for a brighter tomorrow. And all of us, something holds us together, that we know that in the near future or in a couple of days ahead or whatever, these things will change. That is what keeps human beings on course of the human experience. If that is mad, you feel life is lost. And then this sense of worthlessness, you feel worthless, you feel useless, you feel undignified. And if you are undignified, then you are just like any other being, not a human being. Why should I be alive? See, so these are anything that will compromise who you are as a person. It could be the way you are treated by your friends at home. It could be loss of job. It could be anything at all. Life's adversity, no matter how bad they are, should not push you to the extent where you feel that your humanness is compromised. Once that happens, anybody at all, of course, some can develop mental illness. And when they develop mental illness, then they are not functioning, at optimal level. And so they can, for example, engage in suicidal behavior.
If you just joined us, we're talking about adolescent mental health. Adolescence is that critical phase in the development of a human being where, things are very unstable.
Kojo, can I get into my meeting?
We're going to let you go in just a minute. I have one more question for you, Prof, just before you
go. Be quick for me.
If you don't
I
mind.
have to
I'm just reminding everybody what we're talking about. Our guest, Professor Joseph Osafo and Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang. Dr. Badu Agyemang is in the studio. We'll be hearing from him. But just before Professor Osafo leaves us, Prof, can you take us very quickly into the mind of the perpetrators of the violence as well? The bully's mental state. What is it that causes them to act out in that way?
Number one, when somebody is being bullied over and over, it normalizes that particular behavior in their life. So when you are bullied, you are likely to bully others because it normalizes it. It compromises the ethical integrity of your mind. It normalizes it. The second thing is that bullies often have anger. They want to control their world. They want to control their space. They feel that everybody must be controlled. I am the champion in this space. Nobody should get over me. And so bullies are often people who are hollow. They are hollow in terms of emotional intelligence. They don't know how to manage themselves and then anticipate to manage the emotions of others. So that's the second thing about bullies. They are all the time angry. They want the others to kowtow to their controlling, attributes and abilities. And so if they have a sense that they are losing control, they can kill, they can harm. That's the other thing. And then a lot of the time, and this, although it's part of the second one, bullies have not learned to control their anger. See, all of us can get angry. Anger is a feeling, but the actions are driven by the feeling. Once you control the feeling, you can manipulate the actions. And often bullies don't know how to manage the anger, so they can't control the actions. Now, if you get angry and you don't destroy, you don't harm anybody, there's no problem. Once your feeling does not translate into destroying anything and does not translate into affecting your interpersonal relationship with others, no problem. Okay? And if you're a Christian, you have ever heard, be angry but do not sin. It simply means that you can have a feel. The feeling of anger, it's okay. But the challenge is that if you don't disconnect that feeling from that drive to destroy, that's where it becomes a problem. And bullies often don't have that control. Then number 4 is low self-esteem. See, anytime somebody has a low self-esteem, he's all the time trying to make sure others will bow onto what they want them to do, because they want that complex. They want to just feel that complex by a certain false sense that they are in charge. These are some of the things that go on in the minds of bullies.
Prof, I'll say a big thank you to you. I know you have to get back into your meeting.
Thank you very much, Kojo, and all the listeners. Thank you. Let me get back to my meeting.
Indeed. And that was Professor Joseph Osafo. He's the head of the Department of Psychology at the University of Ghana. Very insightful. Listen, we're going to spend the rest of our time with Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang, and we're going to look at all the other aspects of this. We'll put it into the real world, okay? What should we be doing in our schools, knowing what we know about the psychology of adolescents, about the mental health of adolescents? What should we be doing in our schools? Not just as remedial measures to bullying, but as preventive measures as well. All right? Very fascinating stuff. And as parents, what we should be looking out for to ensure that we can properly safeguard our children's mental health during that stage. It's all to come after these messages.
Your morning radio.
All right, well, listen, let's get straight back into our conversation here in the studio with Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang. He's a senior lecturer, Department of Psychology at University of Ghana, Legon. Doctor, we've already, gone quite deep into things and got a very interesting snapshot of what's going on in the minds of adolescents, whether they are victims of bullying or violence, or whether they are the perpetrators of it. Now, I want us to start bringing this into practicality. So, what are the risk factors when your teenager is ready for secondary school and you're driving them through the gates for the first time, going to drop them off with their trunk and job box? As a parent, what are the risk factors you should be aware of in terms of threats to their mental health? What should you look out for?
Right. So, Kojo, globally, as Joseph mentioned, globally, adolescents are the most vulnerable when it comes to mental health issues. And currently, if you look at the statistics, we have nearly 800 million people living with mental health disorders. And among these, 10 to 20% are within the adolescent cohorts. Now, if you come to sub-Saharan Africa, we have 1 out of 7 having one psychological problem or the other. that is sub-Saharan Africa. And for me, that about 14.6% of adolescents within that space in sub-Saharan Africa suffering from one psychological problem or the other is a cause for worry. Joseph mentioned how critical the adolescent stage is to the development of the growing adult. Now, let me narrow in briefly.
And Doc, before you do that, can we just clarify the ages when you say adolescent?
Let's take it from, say, 12 years to 19 years. Okay. Granted, now, at age 10, some of the things some of our 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds are doing, we can add them to that particular bracket, largely due to exposure, technology, and many other factors that perhaps even when we were young, we never got to know.
Yeah.
So we can even add 10 and 11-year-olds,
Right.
so that whatever interventions we are talking about at age 10 or 11, we begin to consider these ones as well. Narrowing into the prevalence of some of these challenges among the adolescents, just to re-emphasize, some Joseph had mentioned it. If you consider children in junior high school, secondary school, there are a number of experiences that they go through. And these may have been from substance use. Joseph mentioned it. At the last count, we have nearly 100 different aphrodisiacs.
Ooh.
Joseph mentioned almost 1,000 of these substances within the system. That is one side.
1,000.
So I'm talking about drugs, alcohol, aphrodisiacs, the abuse of tramadol and related substances. That is one side. Now, the next thing we need to talk about that affects the adolescent mental health: disruptive and unsupportive family setup. And I think yesterday we mentioned how risk factors from the family. I'm too harsh. I'm too permissive. Chaos, conflict. Mother, father keeps fighting. They keep seeing. They keep hearing. They keep. And many children, many young adolescents we are interacting, some say, I don't think I'll get married. Why are they saying this? I don't think it is good to be married. Their experiences gradually shaping them. Joseph reiterated how those who experience some of these challenges end up acting out similarly, because it has been normalized in their mindset that a man must beat a woman. A woman can also beat a man, and so forth. So unsupportive and disruptive family background can also influence negatively the mental health. The third point that I need to mention is sometimes are social and cultural factors. Joseph mentioned, now you go through a challenging situation, this is a relevant older other. So do you go and report? What are you doing? It could be a family member abusing you, causing you the violence. And if you look at rape-related cases, in most cases, these are people who are very close to us. They know us in one way or the other. Seldom may it happen strangers do that. If you check the literature, most of these ones who abuse younger ones are known. They are close. They are within reach. And so social and cultural factors could also promulgate some of these negative sentiments that we are talking about. At that age, adolescent, they have poor coping skills. Let me say, suicide is a psychological emergency, such as heart attack could be for a physical health emergency. That is how we should see it. So if we go through any tumultuous, challenging experience, split seconds, we are not able to cope well, regulate ourselves well, to bounce back, what we call resilience, it can lead anybody, and I mean anybody, into beginning to think my world is finished. There is no sense of purpose in my life anymore. And for that matter, you begin to reflect, am I not better dead than even alive? It can happen to anyone. So the thought of suicide is a psychological emergency. It shows the person needs help. And that is the more reason why suicide, we pushed and got it criminalized. Because if it is a psychological emergency,
As in decriminalized?
meaning, yes, decriminalized.
Yes.
Simply because indeed we need to provide help for these ones who have psychological emergencies. They need help to be able to cope well, process well, deal with the setbacks that may have rocked their world. So children, especially the adolescent, may not have all the strength to be able to cope with the many challenges they will be facing. It's the most adjustive period in life. They meet new friends, new experiences, and as parents, we are to it. Study, be first to at school. Who should be second? Who should be last? This unwanted, sometimes unwarranted pressure that we mount can indeed challenge their mental health. They reflect about the comment by mom and dad as they are going to school. They look at they are doing their best, but they are not matching up. They begin to feel worthless. They begin to feel empty. And at that point, a number of thoughts comes to their mind. Now, the fifth point that I need to add, relationship problems. As young as they are, many of them begin to negotiate one relationship or the other. And at this point, how much experience do these young ones have? Depending on the outcomes, what happened within the relationship, it begins to affect them. Their learning pace, their ability to cope well, their ability to communicate and what have you, they begin to get affected in one way or the other. Then the next point, sexual violence by so-called loved ones. And this is especially common within our university settings. Number of people continue to be exposed to sexual violence. How much help do we have? Poor performance at school is another. And recently, some of the things we've been seeing, attempted suicide by university students and what have you, for me, is a wake-up call. Some of these developments we are talking about, the bullying that we are seeing, is a wake-up call. We have behavioral addiction that is in a crescendo manner moving on. Betting, pornography. These are serious concerns we need to give attention to. If you look at betting, pornography, who are the targets? These adolescent and young adults. For me, if you look at the data, it's 10% to 20% of adolescents moving to young adults are indeed compromised as far as their mental health is concerned. If we come home to Ghana, how would the statistics be like? People get disappointed. These young adults get disappointed, and for them, that is not a reason to even continue living anymore. In Africa, in Ghana, for instance, our services to support mental health, there is scarcity. Please, mental health, we should not see mental health as waiting to provide more psychiatric hospitals. If we promote positive and good mental health, we shouldn't even think of increasing the number of spaces as far as psychiatric hospitals are concerned. And we have a lot of human resource. We are not putting them in the right places to be able to promote the mental health of our young adolescents. Professor Pong, Niboy Kwashi, Johnny Ando, Joseph Osafo, myself, and few others, we are saying that indeed adolescent mental health situation in Ghana, the challenges we are facing, it is a ticking time bomb. We have a lot of young cohorts. Free SHS means perhaps a lot of people are getting exposed. They'll be able to read, they'll be able to comprehend, they'll be able to access internet materials and what have you. It brings a lot of workload. And I think it's about time we look at the proactive and pragmatic interventions that works.
All right. Well, goodness, a lot to think about there. Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang there. And we're going to hear more from him. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more questions and we've got your calls to take as well. We promised you yesterday that we'll be hearing from you today. All right. That's all to come after these.
Your morning radio.
So let's get on to the phone lines now. You could also join us with your questions on 0302216541 and then 05511119997. Claude is calling us from Tema. Claude, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, Kojo, good morning.
Claude, Winston here.
Yes, Winston, yeah. I believe that children or adolescents go into this stage first from the home. You know, parenting is key. Bible says you should train the children the way they should go. When they grow, do not depart from it. You read Deuteronomy, it says you should teach the children as we sit with them, as we walk with them in their rising and in their sleeping. We should paste our principles on our doorpost so that it becomes part of them. But when parents do not have a united front, maybe mother is saying this, father is saying a different thing, then the children become confused. So that is one. Two, discipline in our schools now have broken down. You go to most of the boarding houses, you see the housemasters. They're just like the students, dressed anyhow, walking about, cracking some jokes that you don't expect a housemaster who should be a father in the absence of the parents, you know, at the same level with the kids. And that is a challenge. Now, the code of conduct of most of the schools are being broken down. You know, first, a school has its code of conduct. Now, you say somebody can do any hairstyle, wear any dress, can decide not to go to worship. The teachers are in a fix as to how to control the children.
Okay.
So the children are taking advantage of that and doing all they want to do.
Thank you very much, Claude. Let's go to Jamestown. Selam, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, Selam.
This thing is a serious issue. I don't believe that it's only the mental aspect that main problem. The family system is one of the problems. These broken homes that we are having of late, whereby children either they are with their mother or their father, and the way they behave and all this things, it's difficult to check. Now, if they don't want to solve this problem, the problem solving must start from the basic level and the family level, whereby these common values that we learned when we were young, taking care of each other and a whole lot of things, and making sure that children, the sort of play that they should play, teachers' eyes should be on them, they should watch the way they grow up. Education, when we talk about education, it's not only just giving the people knowledge. Are you getting it? Okay. You also need to deal with their emotions. Are you getting it? And the Ghanaian system has not been programmed in a way to teach people how to love or to be compassionate and how to differentiate between things. We train ourselves to always be aggressive. If you are not aggressive, you don't achieve what you want. So this is the system. We need to deal with the system itself. Start from the concrete, the basic. Start from there so that by the time they reach it, and the teachers at the secondary school level too, sometimes they have been allowing these things. They say, oh, we also suffered. We also went through the same thing. So why are you complaining? Let them stop. All these things are abuse of children who are supposed to go and learn. To go and abuse them, they come back. They don't come back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Solomon. You can also join us on 0302-216-541 or 055-1111-997. Maybe you have a question you want to ask Dr. Badu Agyemang. You can ask, but you can also tell us how you think we can deal with this growing state of mental health facing particularly adolescents. Dominic is from Hacho. Dominic, good morning.
Hello, Winston. How are you?
I'm fine, Dominic. How about you?
I'm also fine. You see, Winston, this is not a new phenomenon. It has always been going on. We have seen worse things than what I even saw in the video. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we stop this? Mm-hmm. You see, we can, the whole Ghanaian the public school boarding house system, it's a failed system. You see, what they basically do is they have a prison. It's almost like a prison. They just build a structure, push the children in there, and the children are their own janitors, they are their own cleaners, they are their own everything. So when you have such a situation, you create an avenue or an opportunity for one prefect or one senior to bully another child. Okay? Because they are the ones supposed to clean. The senior would come, the children have not done something, and then he will take out a belt and start lashing them. But this should not be the case. A boarding house system should be for rich people, okay? Rich people who can afford it, so that they are able to pay for their own janitors. The school itself is able to pay for its own janitors, its own cleaners, its own everything. So you reduce the chances or the opportunities for others to bully. But that's not how we are running here. We think that it's something normal and we are just pushing everybody there, and you are just going to learn bad things. You see, when you watch the video and you see that child choking the other child, that the effect is on all of us. That is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo choking us too. And we are not doing anything because we have been trained that way and we have normalized it.
Dominic, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's go to Spinters Road. Jessica, good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
Yes.
Mine is a little contribution.
Please go ahead.
So I just want to appeal to us, the parents, that we need to make time for these children. Look, it's no fault of theirs that they are here. We brought them, and we have to give every bit of our time to them. The kids, especially like what doctor said about the adolescent age, you realize that there's so much they go through from school, from friends, from society. There's so much. And sometimes most of them will bottle them in. And so if we, the parents, do not spend time with them, we do not speak to them, we do not even find out how their day is going, how school is going, and then we think that, look, we put you in the best schools, it's okay, their teachers are taking care of them. Nobody's taking care of them. They are in their own world. And young as they are, most of the time, they can't even navigate through this world. So if we don't spend the time with them and we think that, look, it's all about stepping up. Yes, it's good to make money. It's good to go out there, make the money, put them in the best school. But we have to spend time with them, understand them. Because sometimes some of these bullying, we see traits from when they are young. And if we do not step up and we do not correct them, we do not discipline them, it begins to become a normal thing for them. And so they go out and think that, oh, it's okay to do it. So for me, my appeal now is parents, we have to do the work. We can't leave it to the schools. We can't leave it to headmasters. We can't leave it to housemasters. It is us, the parents. It starts from home. And home is where we have to put all these things in place. We can do something about it. We can see it and we can put checks in place before they step out. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Jessica from Spinters Road. Let's head straight to Winneba. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
Yes, Kelly.
Yeah, I am happy this thing has come up for discussion. Although it should have been something right from the beginning. We are adopting a fire service approach, but that is cool. But throughout the discussions, you hear parental control, parental this, parental that. I think you speak French, so when I say this, you understand. Koto Aurelia, Nebaso Aurelia, one another Ginianko Tata. The father, the mother who is doing the parenting, himself, herself, has gone through these things and is not aware that these are the repercussions of my actions or inactions. Some of these things are specific. They are in syllables of these secondary schools. But how are these taught? They are taught merely for exams. And so the guy sits down, possibly this guy who did the choking, who writes that paper and then score an A. But when it comes into practice, do we put that in practice? I would wish that we will go back to churches, to schools, at a job, wherever we find ourselves, we should begin talking about this mental health. I have a relative who went through it. Initially, we were lucky because we knew we had read about this, and so we took the person we helped, and then gradually she's getting up. Else, we will be there, and then it will splash like a bomb. So I would beg. It is maybe it came up as it is very, very, very popular, and so Joy has taken it up. Had it not been for that, this thing happened on 30th June, and then this is when we are discussing. If it could also be part of the discussions of all radio stations, part of the preaching, topics in the churches and so on and so forth, then we should start tackling it. Because the way it has reared its head in the universities we are hearing, now it has come down to the secondary school. I am pretty sure you heard of those who choose some schools and then they couldn't get their first choice, hanging themselves and so on and so forth. Yeah. So if we start working on that, I think it will help through the radio, the churches, the school itself, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kelly from Winneba. Of course, all of us have a role to play. I agree with you. Lincoln is at Akwete, man. Good morning, Lincoln, who is our final caller for now.
Good morning, Joy FM.
Good morning, Lincoln.
Yes, let me salute you once again for the good job. Your exposés and documentaries and all that. You continue to be the best. And this morning, last year or so, something happened in, I think, Kumasi, when a student was stabbed. You repeated that issue. Yeah. People talk about it. We relax. Now another one is out again, and it has become another topic. Give me 2-3 days, you will not hear anything about it. For me, I don't know, let me get me some education on this. Our senior secondary school, do we have a counseling section?
Yes,
for
we do.
Students?
Yes, we do, but yes, we do.
Hey, my brother, you are not sure.
I was just going to say,
no, I was going to say that yes, we do, but the question is, are they really engaged in the guidance and counseling? We have that unit. We have counselors all in our secondary schools, majority. Let me put that way. But in my school, for instance, the counselor was an English language teacher.
Okay.
So, yes. So that's it, basically. Yeah.
We have to sit up as a nation and make sure. Today, some of our secondary schools are not even walled. Am I right, my brother?
You're right.
And during break time and all that, some of the students, they go out. I don't even know some of the schools have security. All this we have to put in consideration so that if you are a parent, you know my child is safe in the school. Because look at the one at Adenta, West Africa Senior High School. It's not walled. And sometimes you see some of the students coming out crossing the street. It's not safe. So we have to wall all our schools with security officers at the gate to make sure the children are safe in school, and we have to monitor the activities of our students. That is what I have for you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lincoln, who's our last caller for now. Let me get to you, Dr. Badu Agyemang, and I think we can start off with the guidance and counseling bits because that's one of the issues we talked about briefly yesterday as part of the solutions in dealing with these mental health issues in our secondary schools. Yes.
Well, Winston, I must say that is supposed to be a gatekeeping support to especially those in our secondary schools. But we may have to audit the kind of work that is being done. Yes, we do have them. I have done a lot of engagements, and from where I sit, especially as the president of Ghana Psychological Association, I'm updated as to some of these developments. They teach subject areas in the various secondary schools, partly because they may need teachers to teach. And then, how have these school management seen the relevance of the role that the guidance and counselor must play? And then I posed the question yesterday. Psychology is a profession. It took me 4 years as my undergraduate training, another 2 years as my master's training. Within the 2 years, you do not less than 500 hours supervised internship. After that, you need to do 1 year housemanship, as the doctors will say. After this, you write licensure exams. You go through, then you get your license to practice as a psychologist. Similar training like the medical doctors. And even more if you look at it. But what is the condition of service for these ones? Let's go and check the guidance and counselors. How much are they being paid? Given this extensive training, Who is responsible for this? Now, comparing it with the medical field. It is a professional area. Confidentiality is key. Ethics. We have code of conduct, just like the medical doctors. Where do they practice? If you go to these secondary schools, do we have dedicated spaces? So I have a problem, I need one-on-one to engage with the guidance and counselor. Where?
What's your answer to that?
I don't know. We don't have the spaces there. The headmaster is struggling for space to keep files. And you are talking about a dedicated area for you to meet who one-on-one. What value are we putting on this? We don't have that facility. We don't have the logistics. So it is one thing having the name in record. It is another ensuring that we do the right things. For me, we need urgent intervention to promote healthy adolescent mental health. We need a multi-stakeholder approach to addressing this matter. We got a cause. Family. We have a primary role. The fundamental role should start from the family. We gave birth to the children. What our children need is not the gadget. What our children need is not that reputable A school. What our children need, go and study STEM. That is the future of the world. Our children need time. They need attention. They need availability. They need our support to guide them at the family level. That is one aspect. Then, the school system, if we strengthen the school, the mental health care support system within our schools, that will be an addition to the time, the attention, the availability we parents give to our wards. And by the school system, I am an advocate that given the challenges confronting us, with the data that we have, the ticking time bomb of having a lot of young adolescents going through challenges, we must introduce, for instance, understanding human behavior at the JSS level immediately.
Life skills.
Well, we called it life skills. But this time, we need a psychology-oriented person to handle this. Not just a teacher who did technical skills by force. There are no teachers, go and teach life skills. No, it's a professional area.
What are we hoping to achieve with that?
To shape the mind. Remember, how we think influences how we feel, and that influences how we act. So what was the thinking pattern of this bully? That affected how the person felt and was acted out. We must shape the thinking patterns of the next generation of leaders. And that is what understanding human behavior will do at the JSS level. At the SS, every year, we could think of at least 3 main areas. Psychology for everyday living, motivation and emotions at another year, and perhaps mental health promotion and healthy coping skills. We must introduce psychological studies or mental health studies at the junior and secondary school level. Now check the so-called foreign schools curriculum, they call it. British, whatever, Cambridge. Go there and they are teaching psychology. Why are they doing that? They are benchmarking it. They know this is what works. They have one-on-one sessions for each student. And I am saying, we need to have these guidance and counselors registered. Go there and they are not registered with Ghana Psychology Council. They are not going for CPDs, continuous professional development. Who should pay? The employer. Who should ensure they have the logistics? The employer. What is their job description? Who crafted the job description? The headmaster did pedagogy, doesn't understand psychology. How can the headmaster craft the job description of a guidance and counselor? GES, Ghana Psychological Association, collaborated job description provided. We guide how they should work. One guidance and counselor, one counseling psychologist, one psychologist to 300 students. Can't we start promoting this? It will be the responsibility of schools to ensure that we become another avenue of support in addition to what the parents are doing. Let me leave it there. Now, the other aspect has to do with the healthcare facilities. We have hospitals in all districts. How many psychologists do we have? We have done our part in the years We have trained a lot of human resource. Please, ask the ministries involved. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health. They should give you data. For the past 5 years, let them show you how many psychologists have they absorbed. It's a simple question I want you to ask. Go to Kolebu, go to the other areas. How many psychologists do we have? Can we have in each district a minimum of, say, 10 psychologists, at least at our district hospitals? That becomes another avenue, another layer of support. Why don't we have this? At the university level, now we are almost dotting universities, polytechnics now, universities in all the regions. Why don't we strengthen the careers and counseling centers? It becomes another avenue of support to the communities. So you go to WA and there is a campus there. They have a well-fitted, well-branded, well-resourced careers and counseling center. That becomes another avenue of support for the immediate community. In as much as we will not have all the resources, there are easy ways. All we need to do is to prioritize the human resource support for these agencies. Then we begin to change the conversation. Then another important area I need to talk about, the religious bodies. You hear, I'm going for marriage counseling. What kind of counseling do we offer? Who offers the counseling? Counseling is not about experience only. In as much as experience is good, we must remember, if someone is going through mental health challenges, we will not be able to detect with our years of being in marriage. We need a professional. And I must say, some of the religious bodies are doing well, making sure that they support the people they have targeted to go through the training so that professionally they'll be able to support members or their congregants. For me, that is another avenue of support that we need to look at. And lastly, you, the media. You are doing a fantastic job. It is not all the time it should be politics. We should have a time, and I challenge media owners, producers, have a dedicated time for social issues. Have a dedicated time. Children, adolescents, older adults, and many others. We need to dedicate time.
Okay.
I am urging, especially professions, to increase their curriculum as far as mental health is concerned. For instance, journalism. Were you trained on mental health? How to report on mental health? Do you know, I did 4-year research looking at media practitioners. And the mental health of media practitioners so poor. And you always tell the stories of others. You don't tell your own.
Yes, we always tell the stories of others.
And that's where he wraps up.
But maybe it's time to tell our own stories. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Collins Badu Agyemang, for making time to join us.
See how quickly we move on morning. When it comes to us.
I know.
On the Super
You don't want to tell your story.
We will tell our stories. We will tell our stories. We will do that off air.